This episode of the Brutally Speaking podcast is brought to you by On Point Pomade. Keep your beard and hair looking on point with their line of pomades and beard oils over at onpointpomade.com. Use our code BSP15 at checkout and get 15% off your total purchase order. So thanks again to On Point Pomade for sponsoring our show. This episode is also sponsored by the Bean Bastard Coffee. Head over to thebeanbastard.com and pick up any one of their delicious hand-roasted coffees. Coffee lovers will also enjoy their hand-cut and handmade espresso candles and soaps as well. If you're in the Buffalo, New York area, head to their store located at 448 Elmwood Avenue. And thanks again to the Bean Bastard for supporting this show. The Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia.com. With over 500,000 officially licensed items in their online store, you're guaranteed to find something you need. Use our code BRUTALLY and get 10% off your total purchase order. Now on to the show.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Brutally Speaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is JT, the vocalist for Erra and Texas in July. This was a really fun chat. Erra is one of those bands that seemingly has just kind of been everywhere, kind of a musician's band, if that makes any sense. I talk about it quite a bit, where there are a lot of bands that like band people love, but maybe aren't the biggest band of themselves, and it's always kind of an anomaly when I see those things happen, because the thing is musicians, I feel like, are such a weird group of people, and sometimes like I love being around people who are super creative, and sometimes I feel like it's very limiting in some of our capacities and exchanges. I always look at shows like by Dillinger Escape Plan, and I would see everyone going apeshit and just going crazy, and I always wanted that experience, and the few times I was able to see Dillinger, it wasn't like that. I think I've made mention of this on the podcast before, but it was always weird seeing bands like that, where it's like, I feel like we're just a weird musicians city, kind of, and it's one of those things where you'd have all the guys standing, arms crossed, folded, over themselves, and watching, what the band's playing, or looking, at Billy, like, playing drums, and, all those kind of things, and, it kind of ruins it, because it's like, yeah, it's cool to, sit there and nerd out about, like, oh, man, like, the pedals that Ben's using, or, things like that, or how crazy is Greg's vocal range live, like, the fact that he's got his voice under such control for it being so aggressive and chaotic and all that kind of stuff. But I never fully got that experience of like, oh, I got to see Dillinger, like, where people are head walking and doing all that kind of shit. And it does kind of get a little bit of a bum out, like you didn't quite get to experience a band the way that they were supposed to be. But that kind of goes to what I'm saying about being around other musicians sometimes. And Erra is one of those bands I feel like is kind of actually now getting some of the recognition on a bigger level that they've been working tirelessly for and at. I think anyone who's in this scene basically knows how fucking great the band is. They write some amazing songs, great melodies, great hooks. And it's one of those that, everyone always talks about the players in Erra and how great they are and how they are one of their favorite bands. So it was kind of nice to getting to talk to JT. Although we don't really talk too much about the band or anything like that. We just, like I said, kind of have a conversation and just talk in general. And I think that's kind of been what's been fun about this podcast, and kind of the change of not doing an interview per se, but just getting to know someone. I feel like that's been a lot of fun for me, and actually getting feedback from people. We released the Wolves at the Gate episode with Steve, and to have a handful of people already reach out and kind of send me a message going, this was one of the more fun conversations I've heard him had, because I feel like I got to know more about him as a person and how things that he does in his personal life affect, what he does in the band, and how he, was able to create some of the stuff in the band. And I think to me that's more special about doing these, is just the ability to get to learn about someone that maybe has done hundreds upon hundreds of interviews. And so you already know the lyrical content. You already know how things work with the band, and why this song is about what it is or whatever. But to kind of go beyond that and get to learn more about the person behind some of your favorite songs, I think is fun. So without further ado, let's get into my conversation with JT, and I will talk to you all on the other side of it. I was gonna say, I always miss some hip hop or something on my before we start talking.
Hell yeah, do it.
Looks like you're wearing the uniform of what I do most of my days.
Full laundry?
Shipt.
Oh, you work for Shipt?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. My roommate in Alabama worked for Shipt, and it saved our ass through the pandemic for sure.
Most definitely. People are tipping really good right around nowadays.
Yeah, everybody's getting 20%. Everybody getting paid.
Everyone getting paid. That's how I was. Like, I had such a good day yesterday. I was like, fuck it. I ain't doing shit today.
Nice.
You able to hear me all right?
Yeah, let me get some light for this setup.
There you go. And I don't know what they tell you on your end, but this isn't really like a let's go all in and talk specifics about the record and all that kind of stuff. It's more of just like conversation. Goes wherever it goes.
I was able to book 6 of these in 3 days. So I'm trying to bang them all out.
Do you have someone behind me? I wasn't told that either.
Not today. I got 3. I got 3 tomorrow. You're the only one today.
That's a lot.
Well, it's my fault because I waited a week to schedule any of them. So we had to book them all in 3 days because I'm running out of time.
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of the interesting thing for you guys. Like right now, you're kind of re-promoting a record that's been out already. So I feel like that's kind of... Actually, it's been released twice now. This will be the 3rd iteration between the regular instrumental and now the deluxe.
Oh, I didn't even... Yeah, I guess so. I rarely look at instrumentals like a release, but that's technically true. It's more of like a... just kind of keeping the momentum, showing into the next stuff. I mean, we're due for regular studio time for the next regular album, It's already time again for sure. It's
always kind of weird, I bring this up quite a bit, but I know like you probably haven't heard this, so it's new to you. But it's one of those where I find it so fascinating just having, for a musician in your space, to have to kind of live in the current where you're talking about something that you did in the past, and somewhere you're in the middle.
There's a lot of times we'll do interviews talking about things we did like a year ago, but it's like new information to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be kind of tough, though, because, I mean, it's like, especially as a lyricist, I feel like at times, that is such a snapshot for you of what you went through probably the 2 years prior. So you've kind of already worked your way through it.
Yeah, and I may not even feel the same way as I did when that stuff was even written,
Right.
Sorry, I'm still adjusting. Ooh.
Got that clean setup.
Yeah, it's pretty much nothing like buying an expensive camera to not use it for photography. It just becomes a glorified webcam.
Yeah, I feel that. A lot of times, like, I want to get it. It's funny, like, I've been into photography for a while, but, like, I just hate the lack of immediacy that's in not being able to use, like, your phone. Mm-hmm. Shipt card, by the way. Nice. Speaking of, but it's like, I've gone out with some of my friends to go, shoot around wherever. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those, watching them try to set up the shot.
Yeah.
Just gets really tough to watch. Where I'm like, got it.
Pickier, and everybody gets better. You want more gear, you want more lights. It's like a never-ending bottomless pit of a hobby. And then a profession for some.
So, I mean, what drew you to photography?
I got into it originally for BTS for the band, actually, but then I just fell in love with it. I'm definitely a guy that is kind of obsessive when it comes to technology and like electronic toys, anything with a microchip. So naturally, once I found out I could like play with these and tinker and like learn about them, I just like, ooh, what other cool things can I get for this? Just kind of dove in.
So I mean, if that's the case, are you kind of one that would like to maybe start doing some kind of light filming, maybe making your own kind of like a 5-minute short or something like that, or have you already kind of dabbled in that?
I've actually always been into film, kind of filmmaking. I've done some work for the band. We actually recorded all of our playthroughs for the neon drumming stuff and actually the guitar stuff as well. But it's that balance of like knowing the standard that I could achieve, and we could just hire somebody that could get a little better quality than what I have. Like if I fully commit, then I'm gonna want better gear, but then I'm gonna have to like hustle for gigs and make like the $5,000 worth of gear that I'm about to buy like worth my time. It's kind of where I've been at. Actually downgraded from a full frame to a crop sensor because I'm not using it as much. I can't really justify like having thousands of dollars of gear if I'm not like working or doing gigs or like I used to take photos for other bands that we were on tour with, which I'll do with this camera, but what an expensive hobby. unless I'm getting paid a lot for it, I just really can't justify like going deep and film, and I'd want like people to help and like other actors, because it'd be really hard to shoot like kind of a self-made film. I mean, I know plenty of people that have done it, but I just don't have the time or discipline for it right now. There's too many good games that I want to play. It's really hard to find time to do everything I want to do.
It's funny you say that. That is very much how I felt about probably 3 weeks ago. I just had this moment. I picked up a third part-time gig, so I was doing Shipt. Then I was working at one of the grocery stores that
Wait, how long have you been working Shipt?
Since,
you recognize that symbol?
Oh, I recognize it.
It's an old school logo.
I've been doing it since I think 2016.
This is my favorite logo. I don't know why. I don't like the new logo.
I mean, it's like anything. I mean, I
like
just
a shopping bag, right?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's so funny though, because like what I find amusing about Shipt is like you see those people, and I'm sure if you have like your couple of stores or your store you go to, you see the people who are like wear the whole fucking uniform, and you're just like, that's not me, man. Like I learned very quickly doing Shipt when it had just come out that it's like people don't like us.
Wait,
they don't.
Why?
I tend to find that the average shopper feels that you're in their way. I feel a lot of employees, and it's not like me. I'm noticing it from other people.
Oh, really?
Because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, well, if I didn't have to answer where something is for you because you don't know how to look for it or because you don't want to make a substitution or whatever, like you just get a lot like kind of reactions from people when I notice when other Shipt people are shopping. So I have found like this is typically how I go out. Like I go out exactly the way I'm dressed. And on a rare occasion that I actually need help finding something, I'm just like, hey, hate to bother you. I already looked over here, here, and here. I'm trying to see if you have this anywhere, and I'm just missing it. And they'll be like, oh, actually, yeah, it's like right over here now. We just moved it. And like, and I'll be like, hey, thank you, and then be on my way. I've had some people who work at some of the grocery stores just be like, I wish more Shipt shoppers were like you, who are like, instead of just like not looking, not doing whatever, you can just tell they're like, hey, here's a person, where's this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely the type to try to do the job 100%, even if it takes more. I don't get, super disappointed when they don't have what I asked for, or they feel like they don't find the substitutions. But like, that's the risk you take when you use a service like that. Like, you can't guarantee yourself like you're gonna get the person that does it the way that you want, and that's just how it goes.
Well, I think speaking to a bigger narrative to that, even I feel like I've learned just how, I guess, doing everything in a digital sense has made people, I don't want to say lack of empathy, but
for sure. Yeah.
I had someone, I got a negative review, and I could pinpoint who it was, because at that point it was like a week I was super busy, and I did it like one day before I left for like a trip or something. And I got the feedback the following week. It was like, oh, your substitutions were bad. And there was only one order I had that had any substitutions. And I was like, I literally asked you to verify, like, hey, this is what there is. How the fuck is my substitution bad when you okayed it?
Dumbass.
Like, that's not my fault.
And then there's people like me who I actually caught her taking the photo of the groceries on my stoop. So I like posed with the groceries.
Did you hard style in front of them?
Yeah, basically. And she got a good laugh out of that. And, and then she'll probably, if she gets me again, she'll probably be like, oh, I remember that guy. I'll got on my way for him. It's not hard to like kind of do the right thing and pay it forward. I don't know, make somebody's day. It takes like very little effort.
It's one of those jobs like I really enjoy because like it allows me to listen to podcasts. It kind of just allows me the freedom to do whatever I want. But I feel like it is one of those, like, actually there's a fellow podcaster who was like, you should get into the trades. You could make so much money. And I was like, I don't think that's where the world's going right now. Like, I have a job.
Trade skills? Like plumbing and electric. I mean, those will be around forever. They'll
for sure.
change, but any trade skill I feel like is, I mean, I think that's a great suggestion, but it's not for everybody, for sure.
Well, I'm almost 40, so going through like a 5-year apprenticeship. Yeah.
You look younger than me, and I'm 32.
I'm 30. I'll be 38 in September.
What is your diet? I need to know everything.
Well, I make slightly healthier choices. So, like, my favorite was the cucumber lime, but they didn't have it in a zero for a while. So, like, I just smash a bunch of these and liquid deaths and water and still eat like I'm a 15-year-old kid.
Water and caffeine.
Alcohol probably too. Probably preserves me a little bit.
I'm guessing that's what the brew name stands for, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny. A while ago, I had a co-host on, and I didn't. So I'm sure if you do anything creative, you always find that like coming up with a name for something is the hardest part.
It's tough, yeah, because you're stuck with it.
Yeah. So I started thinking that like, oh, I'll put out this podcast. I'll start one, and I couldn't think of a name, so I was like, John's Untitled Podcast, whatever. It's a fucking placeholder name. No one will care. I'll come up with something. Never did. And then it was just like a photo a friend of mine, a professional photographer, took of me, and then I was like, well, I have a co-host, so this feels really like lame to have me when it's an us. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, all right, let's think of something else. And a thing that everyone kind of tells me is that I'm able to kind of get strangers to just start talking to me and reveal things that they probably wouldn't and shouldn't to strangers. And so I was like, oh, it's like, having a brutally honest conversation. And my co-host and I at the time were constantly, when we would do the intro outros for stuff, we would just be drinking beers and we'd be like, oh, I have, this Founders beer. I have this thing.
Founders. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I live in Grand Rapids. So.
Oh, you do? Dude, I posted a picture of Rubius and next to a CBS. I was thinking like bad meets evil.
You got to do next time you're coming through, or if they have the bottles to do such, get the Rubeus and the breakfast stout.
Like a snake bite?
Kind of.
What do they call those?
I don't know. Delicious.
Yeah. It's like the whole principle between like go to Renaissance fairs and they do like cider and a lager or like a stout. They call them snake bites.
I mean, I know that's a shot as well. I don't remember what's in it though.
Like if you mix the strawberry arbita and the purple haze, you call straw purple or something.
Yeah, the other one that's fun if you are this adventurous is to mix liquor and beer. So
like tombstone it?
Sure. So like one of my favorites for a while was taking like if you just have like a coffee stout and then put in like a shot of vanilla vodka or like the whip vodka. Ooh. And then
I would do like screwball, peanut butter whiskey, and like a chocolate, like a peanut butter stout or porter. Oh shit!
Yeah,
that sounds pretty money.
Yeah, but sometimes you come up with some real gross ones too, where you're like, that didn't land at all.
Let's see how nasty we can make this.
It's almost like the suicides when you go to like Burger King and just mix and match whatever.
Dude.
This tastes like shit, but it's carbonated, so
we're not going to have that anymore. It's just going to be those like onesie machines.
You can still do it with those. Actually, I feel like that's what
it takes
makes
longer.
It does, but like I found one recently that's been my go-to, which is grape Sprite with vanilla Sprite.
Grape Sprite? I've never seen that.
What's in those remix machines?
I love I feel like grape is a hated flavor.
Nah,
and I love grape.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, grape, vanilla grape, half and half. Stupidly good.
Purple drank.
Yep. It's like lean in a cup, but it ain't.
Ain't gonna kill you.
Yeah. No, it won't.
Yeah.
But no, the logo thing though, like brutally speaking, just it's a play on the beer thing. I don't really talk about it much in the show anymore, but like on the socials, like I have a thing when I went to New Holland the other day and got a flight of like limited run stuff, and I was like, all right, I'll post that. Yeah, well, since I live and work right next to it at a bar I work at, I get the low key, I get the really good hookup on stuff that like I can't even supposed to get. Like I have stuff in my beer fridge that's like you can't even buy it, like unless you're just there. It's not supposed to be taken home.
I'm jealous. Michigan's got them good beers, man.
I mean, I feel like because you're out in what, Baltimore?
Maryland's got great. I mean, the Northeast has awesome breweries, but like I said, I love Founders, and I stand Founders real hard.
I mean, it's really hard. I feel like, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit more than me, but like I feel like in my travels across the U.S., I don't feel like there are a lot of breweries that go as above and beyond flavors and so forth as we do here in Michigan. Like with just crazy experimentation of what you have. It's like, here's our porter, and you're like, that's a porter.
Dude, oh my, okay. All right, if you're singing like that, there's plenty of trash breweries as well. And that's why you don't see them brewing their beer across the state or the country. There's one place in Maryland, I won't say who it is, but I went there once and I tried a flight of their beers, and I got one of like each category. I got a cider, I got a stout, I got a lager, and I got an IPA, and they were all terrible.
Oh, that's like the worst.
Nothing redeeming about them.
That's the worst.
I'll just take a Miller High Life. All right.
There's a place in Kalamazoo called the Beer Exchange, and it's basically like a stock market, but for beer.
Ooh.
So it's a bar. So throughout, like if people are buying, we'll say like everyone's buying the Rubaeus. Price of Rubaeus goes up, so you have to pay a little bit more for the Rubaeus than what it was. However, something's not selling, it dips, and you can get stuff real cheap. And then I think every once an hour, the stock market crashes, and then everything's like as low as it'll go.
That's cool.
But I did that once. I waited for the market to crash, and then I bought like 4 or 5 beers, and they all sucked. And I was like, well, at least I didn't pay full price for these.
I do like to play the gamble, or just like if you're an untapped guy, you just want to check those boxes.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah. It's
maybe you'll find a gem doing that too, you know.
Sometimes I've found some gems. My friend Mark from Nothing More lives out in San Antonio, and basically through us doing Texas, beer trades, beer. Weathered Souls has been my new, and Martin House with their sours.
Weathered Souls?
Mm-hmm. It's like a tiny like hole. It's not tiny, but like it's in like a little shopping plaza. So like if you didn't know it was there, you would not expect it to be there. But it's actually a really solid brewery. And another one that's
on Google right now.
Another solid one too that I found at my last day in Atlanta was Hip and Hops. It's the first black owned brewery in Atlanta. I think at least in Georgia, I think, but like Atlanta for sure. But like everything we tried was stupidly good, and it leans more toward, obviously the hip hop side of things. So the music's really cool, and I'm trying to get them on soon, but it was just really interesting to go to that experience, which is traditionally a very white experience, and to see and be like the minority in a brewery. And to me, I was like, this is cool. Like, I want to see more of this. And then kind of obviously what they're bringing to the table.
I feel like microbrewers are more of our generation too. Like my parents didn't drink IPAs or stouts. I mean, I don't know the history behind that availability, but I definitely don't see them drinking anything that's beyond like a Mick Ultra or a gin and tonic or whatever.
Well, it kind of makes me wonder if it's because we culturally want to experiment more, and we have more of the world available to us than before. Whereas, like, you only knew what you had.
I'll agree with that.
Which I think is kind of interesting. I feel like for as smart as we should be with having the world's information right at our fingertips, we're somehow dumber.
Yeah. With great power comes great responsibility.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like that's a interesting segue maybe to some of the lyrical themes on this new record, the record again.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I mean, it seems like kind of going through like even the EPK of like what you guys put out, and it's talking about some literary references that you were pulling from, as well as just me kind of, now that I'm talking to you, I see maybe this is more your influence coming through in it, where it's like it's kind of like an episode of like Black Mirror and da 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 da, and it's like one of those where it's like those, I think, having not watched tons of Black Mirror, feels like, speaking actually what we were just saying, this generation's Twilight Zone, where it's like it's taking you on a journey and it makes you think along the way that you think you have everything figured out, and then it kind of flips its head on its tail to reveal kind of a bigger talking point if you're paying attention.
We're definitely a type of band to try. We try not to do like too much dictionary core these days, but
copyright that.
I don't know. I've said that before.
No.
But definitely our older stuff is what I like to call the dictionary core. But I don't know. I've always been a person that likes intellectual things, and Jesse reads more than anybody I know. I don't read at all. I haven't read a book since high school, which is kind of a sad thing to say. I don't know. I think I have undiagnosed ADHD, and I need to be medicated before I can enjoy literature again. But yeah, we try to include stuff that's has as much depth as possible without feeling too contrived. I mean, it's always nice if you can write a cool song that also has like a nice message to take away. We're not experts or professionals or doctors, so not everything I feel like deserves to be talked about with like what Erra says is how it should be. But I like putting our opinion on some things as long as they're not too controversial.
I think it's kind of. I was listening to a podcast today, and it was with Doc Coyle's show, and he was talking to Bees.
Big God forbid fan.
Yes. Well, being from the East Coast, both of us technically, I feel like you have to be that East Coast scene that popped up in the Jersey and Massachusetts and all that kind of stuff. Although it's weird because like I grew up in Delaware initially. And
nice. What part?
Dover.
Nice. I got family in Lewis.
Okay. It's but it's funny because like I see some tours now, like it seems like Delaware apparently has somewhere for bands to go.
I've never played Delaware. Played a Harmony Grange, dude.
I've never seen a show there, but it's funny. I do see that there's like routing, and apparently at Dover Downs there's like a big rock festival that I think they do.
Oh, cool.
Here. So it's one of those. I'm like, where the fuck was this when I lived there, or whatever? But it's. Again, I think it just kind of speaks to the fact that eventually things will grow to a point where, it expands what you're doing. But yeah, it's so funny. Maryland, the East Coast, I think I always make this as a talking point, sadly, where I'm just like, oh, the East Coast is just such a wonderful place, full of what's the word I'm looking for? Eccentricities. Eccentric people. I think I'm trying to marry a couple words that don't exist. Yeah,
I would say it's way weirder on the West.
Well, as an East Coaster who went to the West Coast somewhat recently, I feel like the thing that makes it weird for me is that everyone's too quote unquote lazy. Like no one gets up until like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's like just real chill. And whereas I feel like East Coast people were like, let's get going. We got to get where we're going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'll agree with that, but I don't. I don't know. Like it. That sounds right, but I don't live there. I don't know.
What? You can't make a generalization about a whole entire coast based on where you live?
Well, I'm just thinking of like how carefree Californians feel. So that's. I mean, it feels like there's legitimacy in there for sure.
I suppose. I just feel like when you're out, I don't know. I feel like the weirdest thing about out west for me was. I would go to pre-bus my own stuff, and everyone would be like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm trying to be nice."
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, it depends what type of like. For instance, if you're up north, you got people who
North's weird.
Yeah, because if you go northwest, you got people who are they probably have a little bit of money and they moved out there to get away and they wanted to acquire a lifestyle, and they probably still run a business or like work, but they work less. Maybe they're young. California is a lot of like ambitious people, go-getters, make their own schedule while they're waking up at 10 a.m. anyways. East Coast, I feel like, yeah, 9 to 5, business oriented, structured, maybe more old school, maybe more religious. It'd be interesting. There's probably some statistics that back up everything that we're saying, but that's just how I feel, at least.
Well, I feel like the other thing too for me is like so we were coming back from Tennessee a couple weeks ago, and we were in the airport I think we're in Detroit. No, we were in the Nashville airport, and we were waiting for our plane. So we had a couple hours. We were waiting in this bar. This dude walks up and starts talking, and I lean over to my wife and I go, "I swear to God, this guy's from Delco."
Oh, yeah, Delco accent?
Oh yeah, and I haven't heard one so long.
Delaware County accents are so funny.
And then she was like, "What?" And I go, "Delaware County."
It's unmistakable.
And then she was like, "I don't know. It sounds just like an East Coast guy to me." And then he tells somebody, he's like,
I mean,
"Yeah, so we're from like Delco, and we're over." And then I was like,
you were like, "Yes."
"Yep,
dude." I just saw the oh my god, what's the SNL actress that makes fun of the Delco accent in do you know what I'm talking about? Is it Tina Fey?
It probably is Tina Fey."
Yeah. God, I just watched that like a couple days ago. I'm seeing somebody who's from the Philly area, and we were just joking about the Delco accent. I mean, it's kind of similar to the Dundalk accent, which is like the southeast part of Baltimore.
Well, I think that's one of my biggest talking points is just how geographically not far you can go in the East, but holy shit, do you find so many nuanced dialect versus almost anywhere else in the country.
Baltimoreese.
Oh my god, Baltimore, yeah. Baltimore borrows a little from Delco kind of at times, some of the words.
If you're talking about like the Danny Ocean horn, that type of stuff, versus like, and then the opposite end is the that viral video about how dudes pronounce Aaron and iron. Aaron earns and iron earn. I'm like, that's how we talk. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like the weird thing. Like, I don't go back east very often, and I feel like I've kind of. It's weird because like people out here in the Midwest, like where I've lived most of my life at this point, I don't feel like I'm Midwest technically. I still identify as an East Coaster because I feel like there's certain aspects that'll, especially get me drinking, get me around someone from the East Coast. Oh man, the accent will come right back. But it is one of those where I feel like everyone's kind of a transplant now, so everyone just kind of adopts certain pieces, and you kind of become this hodgepodge of like your experiences, I guess, which is what everyone kind of goes through, I guess. But yeah, East Coast people, I just feel like it's so weird because like growing up in Dover, you know, my mom's side of the family grew up near, it's kind of like in sort of touches like over by like Maryland in the beginning, like kind of close to it, but had a lot of farmland. But they would pronounce things very southern. They'd be like, you know, oh, that's a lot of water, and there's a roof, and you're like, excuse me.
I say oil change, and for some reason I say Washington and washing machine.
Can you
that's
say
about it?
Can you say Worcester? Like as in Worcester?
Worcester, Massachusetts. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because like
Worcestershire.
See, like, and I was just gonna say, like, my wife cannot pronounce it. A lot of people out here cannot fucking pronounce it.
I fuck it up sometimes for sure.
But I feel like it's because being from the East Coast, you kind of have a built-in way to sort of work your way through how to pronounce it. I feel like
Lancaster. Somebody pronounced Bethesda. This Greek guy. I can't remember how he said it, but I was like, "Oh, what? What did I just hear?" It was so bad that I wanted to call it that from then on out.
I think the one that I always get, especially the more
Bethesda. That's right.
Who'd you say said that? Someone from?
It's just some Greek guy. Long story.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say because there was
I don't even really know him.
Daniel Carter from the BBC. He was talking about Nurgle from Behemoth, but with their accent, he says Behemoth or something like that. And you're like, I had to rewind. I was like, what was that? Excuse me? But and I've almost wanted to say it like that too, but I don't have the slick UK accent to throw on it like that. But yeah. But anyway, what I was saying was I was listening to Doc's podcast with Bees from the Jenny Wimmer Presents Twitch channel and all that, and they were talking about this feeling of that we as, I guess, hard metal, rock, whatever fans are waiting for something more extreme. Like the extreme of like what we listened to when we were growing up was like Slipknot was kind of like the most extreme thing at the time, outside of like the 90s, like death metal and stuff like that. But you know, now you have bands like Lorna Shore and some of these other ones that are just taking extreme to the extremes and feeling like, you know, maybe this is just the tip of the iceberg of where like heavy extreme music is going. And upon re-listening to your album today, especially the covers, it kind of got me thinking about that talking point, because your covers, you know, between Muse, Nine Inch Nails, and Audioslave, those are interesting bands because I feel like they push what they were doing and the genre that they were in at the time to extremes. Nine Inch Nails was doing shit that no one was listening to back then. Like industrial didn't really exist, not to the mainstream like it became with Nine Inch Nails. Muse kind of flirts somewhere between indie rock, melding of like electronic and some other styles. And then Audioslave, you can kind of split that in half and go, okay, you know, Soundgarden and Rage equally did completely different things at their time than what you were hearing from others. So it was kind of an interesting talking point to think about that as I was listening to the covers you chose, to then ask you, how did you pick these three and how did you find your way through them lyrically and kind of sonically, I guess, to reimagine them?
I'll tell you that, but I do want to say I actually don't think that music is going to get more extreme. I think it's more likely, I mean, it's very possible, but I feel like we're going to get diminishing returns at that point. Like how much farther can we go? I've really enjoyed this fusion, this genre fusion that I've been seeing a lot, where bands that we used to, you know, listen to a lot growing up are now doing like a mixture of things. Like Bring Me Horizon is a good example of just doing a kind of a genre flip. And then there's bands like us, we're getting like some Tool influences in there. Northland's doing definitely tons of industrial stuff. I hear Deftones, Nine Inch Nails, Limp Bizkit in some of their stuff. There might be some cherry picking from like things that we enjoy across multiple genres. It's kind of happened with every band though. I guess it'll be really easier to gauge when that time comes. But as far as our choices, we really like 90s rock, especially Jesse. And when I think after we did the initial cover of Queens of the Stone Age a couple years ago, we were like, that was fun. That came out nice. I've always liked covers. I like when bands do covers. Especially if it's of songs that I already really like and they do a spin on it that makes, you know, puts their stamp on it. I'm not really big on bands that just do covers to like add a breakdown to a song for no reason. Those exist too, and some of them are great too. But for us, we're very selective of the covers that we do because we want to add some like special elements to the song, but also kind of do it one-to-one, keep it pretty close to the original. Thankfully, a lot of the songs, well, more Stockholm and Heresy. The Audioslave cover is almost exactly like it. It's just detuned.
Yeah.
But the Heresy one, you know, has all the electronics and layers that's usually in the Nine Inch Nails song. Stockholm Syndrome was like pretty much built to be an Erra song, which was really easy to translate. It's just a weirder, one of their heavier, faster songs in general. So it just kind of naturally catered toward having like, we'll just put a little Erra spit on it and drop it and make Jesse sing, and then it'll sound like an Erra song. I mean, that's just how that's how I feel like it came out. I don't know.
It's always funny when bands pick covers because, like you're saying, like I feel like it's a little bit of pulling the curtain back a little bit to kind of reveal some early influences maybe that you have, and then kind of trying to put your own spin on it, or, you know, at least like I think that was the interesting thing about the Weezer cover album that I think everyone kind of missed was like, because everyone's like, sounds just like the originals, and I go, yeah, but like you know how hard that is?
Oh, yeah.
To make it sound so much like the original that like you're like, it sounds like the original. Like, why even do this? Like that in and of itself is pretty impressive. But then, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm thinking about that. I think there's the split between people that like get it, and then like if you're So there's the your side that's like, wow, that's impressive, and the other side is like they're not thinking about being impressed. Like they feel like they're owed exactly what they hoped.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe that's just the expectation of being older and just not, I guess, having as much expectation on something or needing there to be, I guess, this immediate return of investment of my time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like I talk all the time about how like I listen to music, and a lot of times a band I thought I would like, I don't. And then it takes me like 10 years after like a record comes out, and then I'll go back and listen to it. And I'm oh my God, this record's amazing. Like, why didn't I like this?
I love when that happens, especially when it's like stuff you already knew about and it's like a present, or because you forgot, or it's like just hitting you with different ears this time.
Yeah.
It's always nice. I did that for Architect's second full length, the one that had Here and Now.
Okay.
It's like the 2010, which was like almost like their post hardcore, like under a sounding record.
Not super versed with Architect's older material. I only became aware of them when they were on tour with Let Live and
amazing band.
I don't remember the other. I think it was Glass Cloud, maybe, that was on that run. Somebody else, but I wanted to see them, and Architects was the band that at the time I kind of was like, well, I guess I'll just wait for this band to be done and then see Let Live. But to me, it's kind of hard because I have now, when I look back and I've gone back to some of the older records, it's like it's hard to remember that there was a time where, and I guess it's happening now, where foreign bands had a harder time touring because like you can't do these tours where you just eat shit. Like there's just no point in doing that. So you have to be financially smart about it and get on the right package tours or whatever that are going to bring you over here. But I mean, I did that with Meshuggah years ago. Like I just saw like Loudwire, someone posted a like tours from 2002 or something like that we wish would come back around. And one of them was a tour I actually saw, which was Tool on the Lateralis tour with Meshuggah opening up. And at the time, I was like, Meshuggah, this band sucks. Like, this is one of the worst bands I've ever seen.
How could you?
But put it back through the 2002 spectrum prism, I still think I can feel that way because 8-string guitars weren't a thing. Like, tuning that low was not. No one knew how to mix it, and then to put it into an arena, like
was Fear Factory doing 8 strings or 7 strings?
7.
Okay.
I think Dino might have been fucking around with 8s, but I think for a while he was just using the 8s and then doing 7s and doing baritone 7s to get even lower. But
and Unearth was doing 7 strings right when they started, which was like 01, but they were still doing like metalcore riffs. They didn't sound anything like Meshuggah.
No. And now I mean, essentially
they were doing the gent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard, speaking of things that someone mispronounced, there was a friend of mine that always called it degent, and I was like, please don't.
There's a YouTuber named Stevie T that has a pretty popular video talking about all the pronunciations of that word.
I mean, to me, it's like if you can, as soon as someone says gentleman, like it's like, okay, that's it.
I think of that.
That's the only way you can say it.
Yeah, the gentleman.
Yeah, but it is interesting to look back and think about music that you missed out on, I guess, quote unquote, missed out on, and then became subsequently a fan of. Have you heard of, I mean, you guys have been around for long enough, and maybe not necessarily with you in the band, but like, have you had people say that to you? Like, I really didn't get you guys until whatever the song or the album was, and then, they become the lifelong fan from there.
Well, we'll keep those down, I guess. It's hot. It's fucking hot. It's like 71 today, and I think my heat's still on. I'm just burning up in here.
Really? You guys are that warm out there already?
It's hot today, yeah. I was not prepared. I walked outside with a thick jacket on. I immediately took it off.
It's like 16 out here.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful here today. But completely lost. Oh, train of thought. All right, so we get the biggest spread we get is like, oh, I didn't like the band until you joined. But I always I'm like, well, I always ask more to that because I always do try to push our old content, even though I'm not on it, because it's still good, and we're still gonna play it a little bit. But I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad that my albums are their preference. But yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful anybody cares, you know?
Was it hard for you to find your way through someone else's music before you joined the band and had put out your first album with the band?
Well, considering I've done it 2 times now, no.
Fair enough.
With Texas in July, you know, I had to do like 2 or 3 records worth of their songs before we put one of ours out. Then for Erra was about the same. But thankfully, when I joined both bands, we kind of hit the studio right away, and it wasn't long before I was doing my old stuff. But I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like there's always a way to take something from any song while you're performing it and put your personal touch on it to make it, you know, more your own. That's the goal, at least, I feel like.
I feel like that's, in theory, it would be hard because it's not yours, and so there would be this potential, like your basically your ego kind of getting in the way, where it's like, well, these aren't mine. Why does everyone want to hear, you know, things like that? Where,
well, my ego is like, oh, I want to do it better. It's not really that it's not mine. It's like, I'm going to make it mine type of thing. That's how I attack it. I attack it with extreme false confidence.
That's an interesting way of approaching it, but I feel like it actually would probably lend itself to better results, because at that point,
that's what I've been doing. So you tell me.
I stopped giving tentative opinions on things like that anymore, because it's like, I mean, that's the thing. Music is so subjective. It really doesn't matter. Like, you know, you see right now, everyone's still, Howard was better for Kill Switch, Jesse was better, and it's like, yes,
both are right.
Both are right. They're
Yeah.
both great vocalists. They write great music. They're great songs from each era. They're both great.
I love when they're together.
I would like to.
That's my favorite version.
It would be interesting if they could somehow pull off an I See Stars kind of thing, or even like I Prevail and do the dual vocalist, like with them neither playing an instrument. But I always feel like that just leads to like this awkwardness of like people running into each other because you're like trying to see where that other extra body's going.
Volumes is the only dual vocalist without instrument band that I even know of right now.
I Prevail.
Oh, I Prevail too. Wait, doesn't their singer play guitar? Are there 2 singers on stage?
Yeah, I thought there were.
I think they're the singer, not Eric, but really? I don't
Fairly
know.
certain.
I don't think I've ever seen them live. I don't know. You could be right.
As I say, I know I See Stars did it too, because it was one of the first bands in a while I'd seen do that, and I was like, really? Can't play an instrument? Other guy who only guy who shows up on choruses?
I don't know what the hell I would do. I
feel
used
like
to play guitar, but I was never great.
Hey, they got ways around that now. You can look like a shredder.
Yeah, just don't plug me in, you know?
Actually, here's a fun story that'll probably make you laugh since you sort of said that. So I was in a band, and the whole reason I got into the band was because in Kalamazoo there was a bar called Waldo's, and on Thursdays they would do Pitcher You Call It's for like $7.
What is a pitcher you call it?
So a pitcher, like an actual pitcher of You Call It's. So like Jack and Coke, Long Island's, things like that.
Oh, call
drinks.
Yep. Call drinks. Okay.
So college kids just go get fucked up on a Thursday. And someone was playing metal or whatever, metalcore. This is like 04, 05, somewhere in there. And
that's a good year for metal.
It was. I think someone was playing some Maylene or something like that. And I was just like getting down. These guys came over to me and start talking. They're like, hey, we're playing a show. Like, do you play an instrument? Like, we need a bass player. And I was like, I guess I could play bass, but like, I don't play bass. I play guitar. And then they're like, well, we're playing the show. Come hang out with us. So go hang out with them the day of. And then I find out like 3 hours before the show when we're hanging out with all the other bands. They're like, this is our new bass player. He's playing tonight. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, what do you mean I'm playing with you tonight? Like, I've never even heard you play. How am I playing?
No.
So then
That's a red flag.
Well, they just kept telling me it's all open notes. It doesn't matter. Okay. And so I proceed to get real drunk and then grab all their gear, start loading it up. And then I remember the sound guy goes like, how do you like yourself? How do you like yourself in the mix? I was like, non-existent. I don't know any of these songs. Don't even put me in the mix. I'm going to pretend. And he was like,
just listen for the root notes and try to find them.
That's eventually, we never had a single practice in the time I was in that band. I think we played like probably 30, 40 shows in my like summer of being in the band with them. And it was, I just always would tuck back and usually line up with the double kicks and stuff. And then, like you said, it's, if you hear a open chuggy part, all of a sudden you're like, breakdown's coming. Like, okay, I can kind of figure this out. But
yeah.
It was funny. There was a handful of other bands that were like, you were so great in that band. We wanted you to be our bass player. And I was like, I wasn't playing.
The Radiohead's keyboardist was in the band for like a while, and he didn't know how to play any of the songs. He learned them while he was in the band, and nobody knew. I just learned about that like last week.
It is. I mean, I guess it is the epitome of fake it till you make it, I guess. But
he already made it, and he was still faking it.
Well, fake it after you make it too.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I get that. I don't know. I just always think of that, and I'm just like, there's no way people like do that. But I guess there are people who take gigs that don't know what they're doing.
He's like, I got nothing going on Wednesday.
It's just these notes, right?
Yeah.
Tom York will yell at anyone and just probably cancel the show anyway.
We'll figure it out.
You guys gonna ever do a Radiohead cover? That seems like something you might be interested in doing.
I only know like I think I only know Karma Police. If there's more famous songs, I can't think of them.
Oh, you're not gonna do Creep?
Oh, Creep.
I think that's the division right there of fans. Like, are you a real Radiohead fan?
If Jesse used the Ghost Atlas name on it, I think that would make more sense. But not Erra. I mean, if I had full control, we'd be doing like, you don't want to know what we'd be doing. We'd be doing like Saliva, and Disturbed, and Seven Dust, and Breaking Benjamin. Like basically all dad rock bands. Linkin Park. But we would be doing this because that's what I want to do. It wouldn't be a good decision for Erra.
Actually, I feel like that would be interesting, and it reminds me of one of the few bands that kind of did this. The Color Morale, like their last release, was a covers record, but they each picked a band that influenced them, and so they did, yeah. So like Aaron, their guitar player, his was Misery Signals.
They did a Misery Signals cover? What song?
I want to say it was.
I'm about to look this up right now.
I was just going to say, I'm going to look it up too. Why do I want to say it was Something Was Always Missing, but It Was Never You? This is great content for people listening.
What was the cover album called?
Oh, it was the Failsafe. It was just a covers, I think.
They covered one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, they did the Failsafe. That was Aaron's. They did Stare at the Sun by Thrice, Wake the Dead by Comeback Kid, and Jimmy Eat World's Blister. And then I don't remember.
What's the album called?
It's just called Artist Inspiration Series. Like it was a part of something they were doing, but then never. I don't know. It's a very cool thing.
You have to send me where you're seeing all this. I could find all these songs.
That's Spotify or iTunes, either one.
Really? I can't find it. I'll find it later. Whatever.
Yeah, but they did that. Misery Signals, what an underrated band.
Oh, collaborations. Here we go.
Yeah, but they did that, and that was one of the few times I've seen a band kind of do that, where I feel like it kind of really full circled what a band is compromised of individually. Like what do you bring to the table? What's an influence that you're bringing? And then when you kind of listen to the band after like a record like that or a series of songs like that, I feel like you get a kind of more of an interesting, like, oh, there's that person's kind of flavor they're adding to this. Mm-hmm. And I think it kind of gives you a more interesting full circle of the band. So if you were going to do like a Breaking Benjamin song and stuff like that, like to me, it'd be like, I'm sure there would be nothing in that like someone would be like, oh, I hear your Breaking Benjamin influence on here. But I will say this, I have been joking with a lot of people that Breaking Benjamin, for as much shit as they get from a lot of people, a lot of their favorite like core bands rip off a lot of their choruses.
You're saying like metalcore bands rip off Breaking Benjamin?
I think a lot of the new Motionless borrows heavily from a lot of their chorus structures. Memphis Mayfire, there's one that sounds almost the exact intro to Diarrhea Jane. The way it's the tempo of it is almost exactly the same if you kind of like know what you're listening for. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I know Memphis Mayfire fans and Motionless in White fans specifically probably would be like, Breaking Benjamin sucks. And it's like, really? That's that chorus right there. Yeah. I'll point it out to you.
I hate to tell you.
Breaking in White.
I'm here a little bit of that influence from of Mice and Men too, but I'm here for it. Like when I hear those things and it reminds me of bands that I like, I'm like, oh, sick. I don't get salty.
I mean,
I'm not saying you're salty, but there's definitely a lot of bands like, you can't do that, man.
Well, actually, it's funny. I was just thinking about this the other day. I feel like that's maybe the problem with metal, hardcore, whatever.
Gatekeeping?
Oh, for sure. But like, I feel like, for as much like, you look at, I was talking with a friend. Actually, I'm trying to see, is your album on? Yes, it is. Okay, so Holics, the company that basically hosts all of your like streams and stuff like that for media links. So like how I get to listen to your album before it is out.
I actually didn't even know how that was done. Yeah,
so there's a couple, I think, but they are one of the bigger ones. And a friend of mine lives here downtown, and he works for Holics. Oh, cool. And we had a conversation the other day. I keep saying we should just do a podcast. But we were talking about the bigger ramifications of the Ed Sheeran Bring Me cover or collab. Sick. I did too, and I was like, it's funny. Everyone else is like, this is why Bring Me's not metal anymore. Da 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 da. You see all these shitty comments. And I was like, to me, I think this speaks to the bigger, like, gatekeeping, I guess, that happens here. I feel like in the States, because I feel like you look at European artists, and especially if you look at the European festivals, they're so much more diverse and inclusive of other styles and genres and collaborations and so forth. And we see it in pop and hip hop. But when it comes to a genre that we apparently love, and is all about it is all about, making outsiders feel welcome and all this kind of stuff. We are some of the most pretentious, shitty fucking people toward our own, and it's fucking wild.
Okay, so I think a big reason for that is because when people initially find and fall in love with like the underground scene, I think they're afraid that if it gets too popular, then it's going to get bastardized by the general population and like force all of the interesting things that we like and the special things about kind of the unknown bands into this whole, cookie cutter, like what every other top 40 song sounds like, but now for metal.
Yeah.
Maybe they're afraid of that. I don't know. It might be a younger thing. I don't meet a lot of people my age that are, they either like it or they don't, and then they move on with their day. They don't really have an opinion on it. They know what they like, and they kind of just look for that.
Well, it kind of makes me wonder if it speaks to kind of going back again to this talking point, but is the internet and the way you see it, is it the vocal minority or is it a vocal majority?
I've always seen that the people that comment, like for instance, the people that are trashing something on the internet, and like if it's like your band's new single, they're not the ones coming to the show. The people that are coming to the show will say like, good job, or like thumbs up, but then they're gonna spend like $100 in merch and like and then follow you for 3 other shows on the tour, and then they're like the nicest person ever. The people that waste their time in like chat rooms and like kind of spewing all that bullshit on the internet, they're not actually contributing to you at all. If anything, they're just spreading free publicity. Yeah, the keyboard warriors out there.
Have you had anyone come to you and basically say something that would be, I guess, more of like an internet troll kind of comment thing, like where
in real life?
Yeah,
not really. No. There's some weird people out there for sure, but I would be excited to meet that person because I don't give into that, and they're never gonna win that conversation with me. Like I'm just not gonna let them have it, and I'm not gonna be mean about it or rude. I'm just gonna like realize what they're doing right away and kind of like shut it down. Be like, this is a big waste of both of our times, man. Like, I don't. If you need something inside of you that says you need to come to me and say something like this and be negative and just like contribute nothing, like there's something wrong with that person. And it's not me, you know.
I forget. I was watching something. I've been watching a lot of somethings lately. I feel like it was like some old VH1 documentary thing I found on like YouTube late at night, but it was talking about something to the effect of like big bands that kind of had a falling from grace or whatever. And it was talking to Patrick Stump when he was doing that solo run, like after Fall Out Boy was on hiatus. Mm-hmm. And he was making the comment. He goes, a lot of people are like, oh, you were better. He goes, you would see the comments like, oh, you were better when you were fatter or something like that. And
people are fucking brutal.
And he goes, and I used to think like, oh, it's just, online comments. It's not a whole lot of people. He goes, until there were people who would pay money to come to my shows and then would tell me these things like to my face, or would pay for the meet and greets and then tell me this shit. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like on all levels.
I thankfully have not gotten much of that, if any. I'm sure it'll come one day. I hope it doesn't come soon. So I think the biggest thing is like, even I forget this. Like, I love Parkway Drive. Mm-hmm. I don't listen to anything new past 2012 though, and that doesn't make me not love. And I still seek out new Parkway Drive when it comes out to see if I like it. I just know I know what I like, and I'm not gonna trash their new music. I'm not gonna trash their fans that are only there for their new stuff. Like, they're doing what they're doing. Where was I going with this? I always do this. But, so like I would never go to Winston or somebody in the band and be like, man, I wish you play all your Horizon stuff still from 2007 when you guys were like teenagers, because that's all I really wanted to hear. Like, I'm doing the same thing. Like, I know what it's like. Like, I get so sick of people asking me about playing Impulse, or like if we're going to repress like old shit or play old shit. It happens to every band. But once I really sit down and think about it and like try to give them the benefit of the doubt, they don't know what it's like to be asked that question 1,000 times, and you have to see them with like the genuine, like good-natured approach that they hopefully have. Like, they're there to like support you, and they're happy that you're there playing your songs for them. They may not say exactly what you want them to say, but regardless, I think the message is overall positive.
This might be a weird question. I'm trying to figure out my way through it.
Try your best. I'll help navigate if you need it.
Was there a moment in your career where you had that epiphany to be able to have to view that from the other side as an artist, not
Recently.
a fan? Okay. Mm-hmm. What was the catalyst for it?
What I just said, actually.
Oh, okay.
It was. I was reminiscing on just how much of a dumbass I can be sometimes, especially when it comes to networking with other artists. And I wish I had a dog. I miss having a pup around.
Ruin your podcast.
I know, but it's so funny.
Actually, it's not funny.
At least
but
it's not a cat walking across your keyboard that actually stops the recording.
But I was, hey, what the hell's going on? There's not even anything in the yard. But I was gonna say, like, I know for me, like, the one kind of nice thing is my old dog that I had. She's in the background of when the show started, so on occasion, if I go back and listen, I can still hear her in the old episodes. I don't do that very often because it is, but she silently is always a part of right in front of me while I'm recording.
Oh no!
I know. Things that no one ever gets to see, like what's in front of me while I'm recording.
Yeah, my crack pipe's behind the camera, so we're good.
I was gonna say, you can't joke with that anymore now that Biden's talking about actually putting out crack pipes.
Oh, is it like to reduce like drug problems by creating availability for safety, I guess?
Yep.
I understand certain things like that. The Netherlands do that with like
heroin,
heroin and cocaine testing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to make it free so you don't kill yourself. I'm like, you can't really argue with that.
Free is better.
But yeah, so the epiphany, it's not like an exact moment. Honestly, I feel like I've changed a lot just because of quarantine. Quarantine is because quarantine, at least for me, quarantine put this like life perspective on me. There was a point where I thought I was like, music was over and touring was over, and I was just gonna quit Erra and tell them to all suck my dick, and I was out of here. Like, because I thought we were like gonna be fucked, and we were all gonna be on our own. Like, I didn't know what was happening. I don't think anybody really knew, but I was terrified. I was super scared. So I think with perspective change from that, just like thinking about what I do and why I do it, and that I made it through quarantine, and we're still in the pandemic, and we're still doing okay, and it's still working. I don't know. I just got like a different, something changed. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive back in to everything full throttle again, and meet with fans at the merch table like we used to be able to do, and kind of like talk to people again. And work out some of the bitterness that I have for humanity these days.
I feel like that's one of the biggest talking points recently is just...
I have mild agoraphobia now. I can't lie.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's funny because like for as much as I feel like, it's all of this is really divided. It's divided us and it's brought us together in a really weird way.
Yeah. For sure.
I had something happen where I ended up deciding to go to therapy for, 3-4 months, and feel like I never would have done that had we not had like everything stop and then had the ability to do a therapy session like this and all that kind of stuff. But it was one of those things where it's made me look at a lot of things differently. And I feel like at times it's so hard not to feel almost like like you're an avatar playing in a fictitious world. Because I mean,
simulation,
kind of. And I mean, it's like, I was making the comment to someone the other day where I was like, I'm like double vax boosted, all this shit. And I go, but I'm at a point too where I'm starting to feel like some of these anti-vax people where I'm like, all right, man, like, so I can go to Vegas and I gotta wear a mask everywhere, but like in the casino, no one gives a shit about any capacities or anything like this. I've been to the South, I've been out East, I've been all these places, and the rules don't fucking matter. No one cares. They do whatever they want. Like, at what point do we just kind of go back to normal and either let natural whatever the fuck happen? Because apparently no one gives a shit about anyone else.
Yeah,
and the
that's a big thing.
Aren't enough, clearly. And how do you not politicize anything anymore or make it about a religious thing? Like, you can't. It's almost to the point where you're just like, I'm so over it. I just like, let's be done with all of it. Like, and start over.
You're also, the problem is when there's tons of people out there, they're like doing the right thing and they're suffering as a result of the laziness of others. And then the good people become lazy, and then they don't care what happens to anybody, Yeah. You like lose all the good ones because of the bad ones. And that's kind of like how I got. Like, I'm just like, why am I putting any effort in when everybody around me is just ruining it for the good guy? And fighting that's really hard sometimes. Trying to keep perspective and have, and stay positive and keep that faith. But geez, it's demoralizing, and it's very tough these days. It's like I'm trying to figure out how to pay bills for the next couple of months, and we're potentially about to go to war. Like, it's like, what the fuck can you do?
I feel like that's another thing too. As I get older, like I saw it pop up on a time hop a little while ago, and it was like me bitching about the storming of the Capitol. Mm-hmm. And I remember my wife was just like, when did you give a shit about any of this? And I was like, I don't know, because like I was like, I can't.
I'm right there with you though.
But like the weird thing is like I told her, I was like, I feel like Michigan is partly responsible for this. And I go, if we have the Capitol riots in Lansing, and I go, and I feel like because they saw that nothing happened as a result of doing that, everybody else, because we have social media, like I was saying, it just brings, instead of the world being this big expansive thing, it's brought us all a lot closer. Mm-hmm. And I go, so I feel like a lot of people saw that shit and then we're like, me too, I'm gonna do that. Mm-hmm. And then they literally did it a couple months later on a way bigger scale. And you just like watching. It's like, how can you not be upset about it? It's like, man, this is just like no care for human life, no care of whatever, everyone. And then I don't know, just so much of it just like pissed me off. And I was just like, and then you can't stop watching it either. So you're just like this weird circle of just perpetually getting yourself agitated at nothing.
Vicious cycle. I know. Yeah. Just like waking up mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's taxing. It's exhausting. And I literally don't, I like rarely go through my feeds and my social media. I get on and check my messages, make my posts, and then I get off. And I never see what my friends are up to. I always have to ask them like, well, you didn't see? I was like, no, I literally don't look at anything. Cause unfortunately, like every time I try to find something good, I have to go through like 10 terrible things first, or read some trash or some meme or some repost. And it's just like the same thing over and over. Oh my God. I can't do it.
Well, I mean, so by that admission, have you wiped all your apps like off your phone and stuff, or are you just more in a
I use Twitter through my browser. Okay. I use Facebook through my browser, and I have Instagram. I refuse to make a TikTok. I probably should make a TikTok though. That's the funny thing.
I was told that the other day. Someone was
the
like,
algorithm is insane.
Yeah, that's why one of the reasons why I don't like it, because it's seemingly too on the nose of what you watch and all that, and it's like there's got to be something data mining or something going on to be that. Oh, accurate.
The boomer in me is like, the Chinese made it. They're spying on us. Oh no. It's like, yeah. But the problem is, only reason I feel that way is because I'm fed so much like misinformation, like.
But is it? Or we don't even know.
That's the problem. Like, I don't know if that's legitimate at all. It's probably not. I mean, I'd like to think it's not, but then like it's the trust issues that we're fed with all this bad information of what's real and what's not. But like that all goes to the internet. It's like having access to like a shitload of information and you don't know, and anybody can use it. So you don't know what's vetted out and what's legitimate, but at least people are on there like talking and like putting that shit out there. It's up to us to decipher what to do with it.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's and to sound like an old man again, but it's like that's the part of growing up and being almost 40, and I can't imagine what it's like. And this is kind of, I had talked about this in a podcast a while ago with my tattoo artist. We're on the same age, and I had asked him, I was like, do you feel with you tattooing and how the industry's kind of changed and more of like consent and all these kind of things and verbiage and all that kind of stuff, like that you're kind of very much like myself, like where you're kind of rooted in the old and you know how that was, but you're kind of getting introduced and indoctrined to the new way of living life and the way we speak to one another and so forth. And you're kind of stuck in the middle because you see both sides and you understand why you're doing things and you understood why you did things. But it just kind of gets hard to kind of traverse as someone that's in this, because I feel like at times it's like, whatever happened to like citing your sources, man? Like I had to do book reports and I had to like have a fucking bibliography.
MLA formatting.
Yeah, sure. Like it's like, I had to do all this shit. And then it's like, I had to show you my source. I had to tell you where I got it. If I had to, what it was, the Dewey Decimal thing, like I had to use that bullshit. And so you could go to the same library I went to and pull up this card and this book and all this kind of stuff. Like, and I know tentatively now it's so much easier, but worse because it's like, oh, I found this article. Here it is. And you're like, but literally, bro, when I click on it, it says like, this isn't real. But then you start, the worrier in me starts going like, well, okay, who vetted that? Who said that that's not accurate? Is there any actual accuracy in there?
The rabbit hole.
I know. It's very hard to get old. So Erra's just going to come out with a new record that's going to split your fan base right down the middle of either right or left.
I mean, we have a lot to talk about. There is a song coming out that's about the insurrection. And Disarray was a political song too, and I always, at the beginning I was always against any religious or political thing because I don't want people to listen to our music and hit their feelings hurt. And I do stand by the fact of, like, at the end of the day, none of us really have any grounds to really speak on true standings of political or religious things. We can state our opinions, and if you like our opinions, that's cool. But like, please don't take anything as like the word of God, because we're not. We're just kids that want to make music. But I do think the responsibility of trying to say something positive, at least, or like at least making people think about what they know and what they read, to try to make an opinion of their own, is good.
Potentially, would that be something that would maybe, I mean, I know you technically have two bands to do such a thing with, but would that be a thing where maybe you would want to lean into that in another project to express yourself, where that is the focal point of that lyrically?
I would only do it. I only like to talk about things that I feel like I have the knowledge to like give you some substance for. Like I wouldn't do a political religious song only because, not only on the grounds that I don't think I should, but mostly because like I don't think I have anything good to really offer. That's not just like a kind of like a generalized, like, yeah, something my dad would say kind of comment, you know? If it was something I was truly passionate about or niche, then hell yeah. Like I would love to do like a video game themed metal project, or like a like a metal rap project would be kind of cool, on something that I think is like, I wouldn't be talking about Skyrim, but you could totally see how it could be about Skyrim type of thing. Like you could personalize it on that level.
So you
like
could
video
do
game themed, or I don't know what like shit that you're passionate about. You could do it on anything. You could do it on like Stephen King books, or I don't know, the Metal Gear Solid game series, whatever.
I was gonna say you could do Ice Nine Kills like theory or brand basically, and just apply it to a different genre of something.
Exactly.
And then you'll be opening for Metallica too in like a couple years.
I don't know. I feel like when you do that though, you kind of pigeonhole yourself in with your branding and you're marketing your band, because you're always gonna be the band that talks about like that subject. So that subject's kind of going to be tied to it, unless it's something you can extrapolate on for years to come. Like Galactic Empire can do tons of records of Star Wars, because there's tons of Star Wars content. But yeah, I guess you'd have to try to pick something that you could do that with. For me, if I would probably do like definitely video games, or maybe film. I really like what's his face? David Fincher films. So I do stuff about like
Social Network,
Fight Club, Gone Girl, Mindhunter, anything that has to do with like
he did Gone Girl
thriller.
I mean, looking at it visually, it does.
Well, he doesn't have
He
doesn't use his like green and orange palette that he has in like Panic Room and Fight Club.
Yeah.
That like really moody, desaturated, like dreary nature to a lot of his films. I mean, it's definitely got a mood to it, but there's more color. I'm really big on color palettes, and there's a completely different one for that movie. But there's like those like wide 24 millimeter shots that kind of like don't have a lot of cuts, and it's like there hasn't been a cut in like 5 minutes, and they're just doing like monologues. It might even be improvised acting. Like, I love that shit. That's my favorite type of film.
That's why one of my favorite continuous shots in a film.
Hereditary?
No, this is a weird one. That's a good. I know the one you're talking about though.
Is it a martial arts movie?
No. Waiting. From the back of the house all the way to the front layer. I'm sorry, from the as you walk into the restaurant, and they walk you all through the floor of like with the servers all the way to the back of house.
Oh yeah,
it's a single shot, and
I never noticed that.
It's really impressive.
Watch it.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
And I didn't realize it was a continuous shot until they talked about it in the talking about antiquated things, but the bonus features on the DVD, because like the guy who directed it was like, this is so cool. I was like, no, this has got to be like, here's how we're gonna to do it and block it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was a good one. It's funny you bring up Hereditary. I made a comment on Twitter a while ago, as like a couple of weeks ago, where I was like, I really want to start getting on another podcast, because like, I like talking, but like I don't always get to talk about the things I'm interested in beyond whatever. So I was like, it'd be kind of cool to be on someone else's thing and let them lead and just kind of be a guest. Yeah. Excuse me. And so someone was like tagged another show, and it's like a horror podcast. And so someone was like, well, do you like horror movies? It's like, I do, but I'm very weird about horror movies. Like I live with my wife who hates movies. So like and hates horror on top of that. So I don't really get to watch a whole lot of horror. one of the last horror movies that I did get to watch was after going to Vegas, was watching Midsommar on my laptop from my
So
flight
much
back.
shit to talk about that movie.
Now, see, I saw that first before Hereditary.
Really? Oh.
So
Did
to
you
me,
like Hereditary more?
no.
Really?
But like the thing for me, and maybe it's because of some of I kind of realized some of the movies that I grew up watching because of my dad, like horror movies, were kind of more occultish anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I mean, I picked up on it with Midsommar as well, but like, I feel like Hereditary, I saw a lot more of like the ending coming, or the quote unquote twist of it. Not saying that visually it wasn't still impressive, but a lot of the, like, when you went back and people were like, "Oh, did you notice this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, how many times did you watch?" And I'm like, "Just the one." But like, I guess
you know what to look for too. You're kind of like coached.
I guess.
If you watch enough film, you kind of like, you know, when there's certain techniques that they do with their framing, or like why would she bring that up if that wasn't relevant, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can kind of like seek out the foreshadowing, Easter eggs. You don't, they kind of give it to you if you know what to look for.
Yeah. And that was the thing to me with after watching Midsommar, and only having watched it the one time too, because it's one of those where, and I think because of how I watched it with like noise canceling headphones on a laptop,
Ooh,
I had
yeah.
nowhere else to be. So
Dark
I'm
plane.
literally, no, it was a daytime flight, but like all the windows were shut anyway. So
You're
it was
pretty
essentially
isolated.
dark.
You're
But yeah,
locked in right here.
but you know, I some people don't like watching movies on flights. I think it's actually a really good environment to watch them because you're very locked in. Like
Me too.
Ex Machina was one that I watched on a flight.
So good. So good.
The only problem was I had an
Amazing.
Asian lady sitting next to me during the ending, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know this Asian robot lady was going to be fully naked. Sorry." Like, a little awkward.
Dude, I always see like some random titty over in between seats when I'm on a plane.
It's funny. I always hear people say the same thing. They're like, "Oh, I see weird shit on the plates," and I'm like, "I never do." Everyone's always playing like the games on their head console or whatever, or they're just watching like TV shows. But I never see anything like where I'm like, "Wow,
I'm
you're
seeing
watching
like a
raunchy shit."
really, I'm like, the eyes catch the film, and it's like a sex scene, and then I look who's watching, and it's like a 75-year-old white lady. That's like my favorite. Like, what's everybody watching? And then then they got me, who's like watching. I'll watch like Toy Story on the plane or something.
Funny enough,
I love like old funny kids movies.
the flight out to Vegas to go surprise my wife, I had rented Toy Story 4 and something else I don't remember. So obviously it didn't leave an impact on me. Mm-hmm. Man, what a bummer. The way, like, the emotional roller coaster of Toy Story 3 and then Toy Story 4 just being very Like,
I'm excited for the Buzz Lightyear.
Oh yeah, it's coming out soon. I just went and saw Jackass. That's like the first movie I've seen in a while.
So good. It's short, kind of short.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it actually ran, but definitely short.
It felt. When it
was enough for sure. For sure. My sides were sore after I walked out of that movie because I was like gasping and laughing and like freaking out. The musical chairs with the airbags gave me like so much anxiety. I was like, when's it gonna go? I don't know.
I think the only one that really got me was and that chick was such a badass too when she like
the scorpion.
Well, yeah, her, that one, but I was going to say the action when she went to kiss or lick the taser.
Oh.
She just walked right up and was like, ugh, and just did it. And I was like, what the fuck? And then she did it again. But then when they had the snake and Poopies had to like kiss it, I was like, oh.
She was stone cold. And she seemed very sweet too, which was like such a weird contrast to see her like getting abused and she was so unaffected by it. I was like, wow. Yeah, built different. These people on these shows, man. I'm freaking out over here. Yeah,
it was interesting. It didn't feel like it quite had. It wasn't really for me until the spoilers, I guess, for anyone who hasn't seen it at this point. But as I say, Knoxville with the bull.
Oh, that I got worried. A little
like worried. I was like, because like you could hear him snoring. And I was like, oh no, he's out.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's done. And then they like put him in a stretcher and take him off. I'm like, oh no, that's even worse.
Yeah, I heard one of the members is having. I don't know if that was him or Steve-O. It's probably one of them that kind of had like pretty serious post problems from the movie.
Yeah, that was him. That was Knoxville. That I don't think he can do anything anymore for CTE reasons.
I think it's better off. I think we've had plenty.
I think we're
pass the baton on to a bunch of those new guys, and they can just supervise.
That's
and they
pretty
can,
much
and
what
they
I
can
think is.
They can just get terrorized like Kevin and what's the producer's name? Oh my god.
Jeff Tremaine.
Jeff. Yeah, Kevin, their camera guy, and Jeff are always getting harassed by them. And Kevin, Kevin's been there since Jackass 1. He's still throwing up on camera.
Oh, Lance Bangs?
No. Is it Kevin? Is it Lance? It's Lance.
Lance. Yeah. Yeah, that dude throws up on the drop of a hat.
Yeah, he throws up in his mask.
Yeah. Yeah, and then have you seen the new Scream?
No, see, that's the type of horror that I just don't give a shit about.
I'm like interested in.
I'll watch
that.
it for the novelty, but like I don't know.
Between that,
I'm big on like the psychological stuff, like American Psycho.
everyone loves that movie, but no one ever saw American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis.
I didn't even know that exists.
Oh, it's terrible. It came out a long time ago.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think it came out probably like 4 or 5 years after American Psycho, like well after the hey, this is really popular, we should make another one, but hey, let's make it a woman and a hot one too. And then all of a sudden it's like, I think it was like a straight to DVD kind of a thing.
Does she play the same role as Patrick Bateman? Like
from what I remember,
not the same person. Obviously, not the same person. But does she play like a disturbed person?
From what I remember, yes. But now you have me going like, oh, now there's an American Psycho multiverse.
As Patrick, Mila Kunis
I'm Patricia Bateman.
Oh yeah, there you go. Wow. Or I would like to see some sort of continuation. That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever? I don't actually. I already know the answer to that because you said earlier you haven't read a book since high school, so I doubt you read the book.
Dune?
No, American Psycho.
Oh no.
Yeah, because that was. Whereas the
I'm
movie,
just
I
trying
think,
to shot in the dark. It's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
I was gonna say because like the book makes it very obvious to me that it's not happening because there's a part where, and I don't remember if it's in the movie, where he's at an ATM and it says for him to feed the ATM a cat.
Yeah, it does.
And
that is in the movie.
Is it? Okay. So, I mean, that clearly showcases that, like, he's hallucinating a lot.
I'm pretty positive.
Ice Nine didn't put that in their new song about that, so I don't remember.
Remember when he's going out of the hotel at the very end, he's kind of like panicking, and the helicopter comes in, he's like hiding behind that desk, and that's when it kind of does reveal that it's like all hallucinations. I'm pretty sure in that scene he goes to the... Oh, because he just shoots somebody outside.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's when he goes to the ATM and it says that, because that sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like Shutter Island. I fell asleep during that and then woke up and everyone's like, I go, oh, this is still going on? I go, did he reveal that he's crazy?
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, what? And then that part
too.
happened and they were like, I was like, oh, sorry, I ruined that for you. I was sleeping the whole time.
Some people are dumb.
I don't know. Sometimes that's the hard part about going to see some movies like that is like if you feel like Sixth Sense. I remember my parents and I going to see it. My mom and I were talking, and my dad was like, "Shh," and then like at the end he was like, "Oh my god, I never saw that ending coming." And we're like, "That's what we were talking about." Like 10 minutes into the movie, like we're like, "Oh, he's dead."
So that's kind of like what I was getting at earlier. It's like once you've seen enough, you kind of know where everything is going, and it spoils the fun with you. I can't watch certain like TV shows and films if there's bad technical things about the film, because I can't enjoy it. Like I'm thinking about like, oh man, like these shots are out of focus. Like why is this blurry? Like what is this color choice like here? Like I can't even watch this content because I'm too busy critiquing the shit out of it. It just ruins it for me.
Out of curiosity, I'm gonna probably assume no is the answer. Did you watch the Kanye thing last night?
No, I haven't been keeping up with Kanye other than the fact that he's trashing Pete Davidson.
Skeet.
What's he calling him?
Skeet.
What? Oh, like Skeeter?
No, Skeet Davidson.
Oh my god. No, I have not followed. Dude. I mean, I do love Kanye anything. Like it's just fun to observe because I want to see the unadulterated like deep dive 2 hour long Vice about his life in 10 years.
It's already out. Oh, right now you mean like the documentary right now? I was gonna say because
Is
Netflix
there one on him?
So Netflix, a dude who's been following him since he was like a nobody. I just started on Netflix. It's called Genius, JEEN-UHS. And the first episode is like 2 hours long, and it's him like, I was following this guy, and then I was following this guy, and then I realized something was special about Kanye, so I started making a documentary about him, and it's basically at least this first episode. I'm like halfway through it. Seems to be about the come up, and right where I left off is him starting to work on College Dropout. He's in trying to get on a label, and he had just done All Falls Down, but it's not the final version that we all know. It's like almost like a different singer is singing the hook. So it's like little things like that. But he's even back then he was talking about like, oh, I'm gonna get like my own guitar player, my own singer, so that way when I can start making my own samples and shit, and like then I'm really gonna change the game. And like you're like when you hear something like that, you're just like, dude, you're fucking playing chess, and the whole world's playing checkers, man. Like you can see it even back then.
So yeah, I will 100% agree with that. I think Kanye definitely has some genius qualities. Whether or not you agree with that or you understand or like what he does, if you fully know, yeah, there you go. If you fully know his history and how much he's created, how much he contributes to his art, how passionate he is in everything he does, like regardless of how, yeah, dude, okay. Regardless of how weird you think he is, he's definitely strange.
Oh yeah.
But imagine being in the position he's been in his whole life.
Yeah.
He's been on, even like he got big from music, and then he was put on TV, and he could never escape that. He has avenues with fashion and entrepreneurship and trying to be an icon, and his mishaps on like the VMAs or whatever that was, and he's still a person like trying to navigate all this shit and under the craziest amount of pressure. So I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not a bad guy. He's just a little odd. I think he catches too much shit. I mean,
think
there's definitely a lot of Kanye worship out there.
I stand Kanye really hard, but it's funny.
I don't get a lot of it, but I respect the hell out of that guy.
Twofold. It was funny because like when I got on one of my legs, I have portraits of musicians that have influenced me over my life, and one of them is a Kanye piece, and everyone was just like, and I thought it was funny. A lot of people reached out, they're like, "Don't do that. Don't get Kanye," and I was like, "Why?" Like,
dude,
get something else.
Graduation and College Dropout are like some of the best hip hop records ever.
Still being sampled even to this day.
Yeah, like I will fight anybody that disagrees with me. Like I don't know, like those are fantastic. Like without question, fantastic hip hop albums. No, I don't care what you have to say about him as a person these days. Go listen to those records and tell me there's not a genius probably in there somewhere.
I mean, I think the harder part, and the reason I asked if you watch the thing is because of, so like my wife and I went to the Donda event in Chicago, like with the house and him lighting himself on fire, very Hereditary-esque. And I actually have that on film when I was there because I actually had a good spot and I saw it coming. I was like, oh, I bet someone's going to come out of here because there's extinguishers near this. So like, there's got to be something with fire coming up. Kind of ruining it for myself. I just didn't know what it was. And so last night they took that same set, put it on water, and it looks burnt out. But then there's like a part where like the house expands and like light comes out of it, and like the backlighting of it looked really cool with a lot of the smoke and stuff like that. And it's shot in probably a 4K camera or whatever. So just visually it looked super impressive. Nice. So from that perspective, I had maybe figured like maybe you saw something previously from the other ones that he had done or any of the other stuff, and then maybe would be like, oh, I'm gonna check it out for that at least. I don't give a fuck about the music, but like visually, from the film perspective, it might be cool to check out. But sounds like no.
Maybe. Send me the link.
You know what? I don't even know if it's still up. I know it was live streamed, but I don't know if it's like up anymore.
I'm probably a clip of it somewhere. Somebody probably. I mean, if it has to do with Kanye, there's a database for him. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's probably true. Um, so I mean, what is something that you moving forward? You know, you're talking about being excited for to start writing for this next record eventually, whenever that is. What are some other things you have that you're looking forward to for this year?
Um, from Erra's front, some tours to announce. I'm ready for a little more, even more normalcy with our touring schedules. I really was really sad when we had protocols that weren't allowing us to really interact with anybody. Like we sat on the self-title for so long. It came out over a year after we actually recorded it, so we knew these songs well. And then when we finally toured on it, we can't even like talk to the people who have been enjoying it, which really sucks. So I'm hoping eventually we'll be able to like have a meet and greet and really interact with some people and kind of get inside their heads and thank people like personally, really.
Right.
So hopefully that soon to come. We need to go back overseas and play some Erra jams in other places and go back to Australia and Japan and hit up and reschedule our European headliner.
Yeah,
Work out all those things.
I feel like that'll be maybe a weird. I don't want to say culture shock, but I guess it's the thing right now is like no one really from the States has gone overseas that I know of. I know when I had like Johannes from Avatar on, I said like, you're one of the first foreign people to come here to the States tour. How has that been? Because it's hard not to sometimes think globally, especially when it comes to touring. But I don't know if anyone's done any European touring or anything like that from here in the States over. I feel like that'll be interesting to kind of see how that goes for whoever the first bands are to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know what's coming next with COVID. I have to play the waiting game, and I let the people that we pay tell me what I need to know. I just cross my fingers and hope for the best and keep my expectations low. Well, yeah, I'm hoping for some cool shit. Erra's in a great spot right now. We have music we're really proud of that's out, and we can play it. So I'm not worried. I just want to do something. I'm just bored.
There's no good games out for you. Trying to look behind you and see if what you got, what system you play on.
There's a PS5 under there. Okay. I think Elden Ring comes out very soon, if not today. I thought I heard somebody talking about they were downloading it right now. But I'm definitely a PC guy. Wait, is it out? Can I download it? Maybe I can download it today. Oh, it comes out tomorrow. Comes out tonight. Nice.
Midnight
or tomorrow. It says 24th. I'm seeing all the reviews for it. So yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I do love video games. I play a lot, but as a 32-year-old and through quarantine and the band growing and me being more involved with running a business, I get so much more guilt. I really have no responsibilities. I don't have any kids. I'm working on a relationship, but I'm not technically in one. So like I'm pretty much like do my own thing most of the time. So being disciplined about my own schedule and thinking, well, I could spend 8 hours on my off day playing video games, or I could do something more adult and like work towards, literally anything else. So this perspective of like with quarantine kind of like putting kind of like a fire under certain people's asses to like have because like I thought I wasn't gonna be touring ever again, so I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? Like all my eggs were in this basket. So when I think about like my hobbies and the things that bring me joy and what do I like to do that's not work, there's a certain balance of like, can I find things that I can be passionate about, but also will be beneficial to be passionate about. Hence why I got into photography originally, because I could do like side gig work, but also have a fun craft that I actually like working on. And I love the creative side of it as well. But I feel like I'm always going to be a gamer, so why do I fight it? Who knows?
That's why you get on Twitch, man. Utilize that crisp presentation you got.
True.
Get on Twitch, have people build a community. And maybe we get to a level where, when you're on tour, people, the gaming community will be like, hey, you're here in, I don't know where like Activision is off the top of my head, but like wherever Activision is, and they meant like you come through and maybe that turns into like you doing VO work or something like that, or doing music for games or something.
The cool thing about the band becoming more popular is that people I'd never expected to like reach out or show love did, and sometimes they're athletes, sometimes they're like other creators, and we've seen a lot of like video game related creators kind of give Erra some love this year, which was really cool. So yeah, I mean, maybe some doors were open to do some interesting side hustles or like things to kind of accompany the work that I do with Erra that will, you know, help both spectrums, help me personally, but also like boost something about the band that everybody kind of benefits from. Who knows? Keep my options open, I guess.
It's the wild, wild west out here, man. You can do whatever and be whatever you want to be.
Make it work, yeah.
You just gotta.
I still got time. I ain't dead yet.
Absolutely. I think that's been the hard part for me is being into games. Like, you know, I got the Xbox when that first, like the day one when it came out. Thought I would be able to, at this point, have found a PlayStation 5, but no such luck.
I was doing drops through the Hot Stock app, which actually I recommend for anybody listening. It works pretty well, and it's free. Mostly free. You can pay for like an extra notification or something. I don't know how legit that is, but we were like both on Best Buy's like drop cycles at the same time, and he got one twice in a row on different occasions, and actually had to mail me mine. I had to drop it off at UPS, and that was a whole ordeal too. They like didn't want to give it to me.
Well, I mean, I remember my mail person, because I had mine delivered to the house, and they were
don't deliver to the house. Oh God.
Well, that was my only. Well, after all the bullshit I had to go through, that was the only option, was going through Xbox's website, because everything crashed. And that was my only way of getting my Xbox that day, was pre-ordering it and then having it sent to my house.
Yeah,
I was there that day, so like
you have to take off the whole week. Make sure you get it.
Yeah, no, I did. I met the mail lady, and I was like, "That's mine, thank you."
Yeah, I live in the city of Baltimore.
Yeah, actually, I don't live in the middle of the city. I have an elementary school across from me, but still nerve wracking. Thankfully, nothing has ever stolen. Like, you know, I had actually this cab, like, you know, $800 cab sent to my house, and then at the head, while I was on vacation, I had someone. I was like, "You guys got to go get that," because like things that say like Mesa and like PV.
Oh, they ship in the box and they put it on the stoop. Harman Kardon, that's expensive.
Yeah,
like, I saw some guy's sound bar on the front of his porch. I was like, geez, bring that inside, dude. That thing's like $1,000.
I think I'll end with this as a fun Shipt story to kind of bring it full circle. I had to get someone alcohol, and they wanted like a $400 bottle of booze. I don't remember what it was. They weren't there, and they're just like, whatever, just drop it off. And, you know, you're supposed to scan the ID, whatever, but when you're in a hurry, you're just like, cool, scan mine, whatever. Because I have this theory, too, at times where I'm like, okay, if it's an underage kid, I doubt you're trying to, like, go all out on this, like, $400 bottle of bourbon.
Yeah.
So, or, like, you know, a box of wine, literally. So, like, some discretion's used, so I don't have to, like, bother someone. And I pull up to their, like, this gated community, and it's all, like, fucking Jurassic Park. Like, I saw it as I'm driving through it in widescreen. It's like all snowy, and they had like the candlelit things going down the whole drive to like get to this, like cul-de-sac thing. And then I just dropped it off, and then I was like, "All right, man, here's your booze." I hope it doesn't.
Nobody was there.
No. The guy told me to hit when I showed up to hit his ring thing, and he would talk to me to let me know that like he knew that I dropped it off.
Oh yeah, because you can do that remotely. That's cool.
Yeah, but it was very weird because I was like, in my head, I was like, because it wasn't much, but it was like some kind of expensive stuff, like a lot of like nice steaks and all that kind of stuff. Like,
okay, I have a question then for you then.
Yeah,
you say you work for a bar?
Yeah.
You know how we can basically go to prison if we serve underage?
Yeah.
Can you get in similar trouble if you're kind of conned into serving an underage person through Shipt, or giving them, like, let's say their parents give a 16-year-old use to get groceries, but they also buy beer and they charge it with their parents' car, and their parents don't monitor it because they, are just that type or whatever. And you just delivered a bottle of Tito's to a 16-year-old. Like, what would happen?
I mean, the hard part about that is because like something similar has happened, where it's like I showed up to, and it's always like because one of the stores I delivered to is like right in the middle of like a really rich, like you're looking at, $750,000 homes and up kind of.
Yeah, that's the type I'm talking about, honestly.
So there's a time where it was like a 12 pack of, actually might have been a beta or something like that. The actually, now that I think about it, but I was like, hey, like I wasn't in a rush, and I was like, and only the kids answered the door, like a 6-year-old, and I was like, is your dad home or somebody? And they're like, yeah. And then I had to wait like 10 minutes for them to go through this compound of a house to go get their dad. And then he just like showed me his ID, and I was like, all right, like whatever. But like it's one of those like sometimes like I've had kids, like I'll hear the mother supposedly like when they're like, help him with all those groceries, and they'll just like bring stuff in, and a lot of times it's not like with alcohol on it, but it's like more oftentimes than not like the thing says like drop off, and I know it has the thing like with booze you got to get somebody, but like I had a lady the other day, she was I could tell based on what I was getting, like as it was like adult diapers, Metamucil, some all this kind of other stuff. It was very someone who's old.
Okay.
Shopping for, and then it was like Woodford Reserve.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Got
some good taste.
I said that like I was on my way, and it was like, yeah, let me know when you're here. I fell down and broke my hip or some shit the other day, and I was like, oh, which would explain some of the other stuff I needed. I got for her, like some of the pain pills and all that kind of stuff.
Jeez.
So then I was just like, I got there, and then I saw as I was pulling out, because I scanned my ID, because I'm like, I'm not going to try to make you get up, walk through your house to come get me just to get the ID, and I'm going to see, like, because I work door at a bar. So like that's the part where I'm just kind of like,
I've been there.
So like I'm just like discretion. Like, just like if you were to go to the store and when you're buying it, like, yeah, they might check your ID more oftentimes than not. Once they know you're shipped and they know you're a ship person, they'll just come through and wave you on, and then it's fine. I try to do that. Show a little bit of discretion. Like I've earned some knowledge on my end that I can
street smarts.
Kind of, yeah. But I don't know. I've never really looked into the fine, T's and C's of the of Shipt. I would imagine, I know working at a bar, because I know this on a slightly different scale. When one of my first jobs out of high school was working at a strip club, and they'll put the fear of God in you of letting in a minor. It's a $10,000 fine for you as whoever let them in, and then $100,000 fine for the venue.
Wow.
So I think the bar is roughly the same. It may not be as severe of a punishment for letting in a minor.
Jeez.
But I know that there are those things in place, but like I said, I also, like I said, no child is like, you know what I want? Woodford Reserve. Like you're at that point, like when I'm bringing like 30 racks of PBR and like a thing of like Evan Williams, like a half gallon, I'm like, yeah, I might get an ID for that, because that seems like a college kid.
What if this guy? What if the person orders it and they order like a 6-pack of like 90-minute Dogfish Head and like KBS and like Glenlivet 12 year, and you open the door, it's like a 14, 15-year-old dude. He's like, that's what I like. And you're like, I'm scanning my ID for you, bro. I'll support this shit. You got to get him drinking that good shit early.
I might have to be like, I need your dad's ID, because I'm going to save you the embarrassment of it's only downhill from here. Tell you what,
he ordered White Claw this time, so you got to get your parents for this one.
I mean, I don't know. It's so funny because like my bartenders all the time are like, it's so hard for me, like, because I like everything. Like I like all things. So like a cocktail place around here, I don't even like look at the menu. They don't even give me a menu. They just go like, what are you feeling? And I might be like, feeling kind of a smoky bourbon, maybe with some citrus somewhere in the flavor profile.
Old fashioned maybe.
And I don't know, whatever. And then like I'll give them like a spirit, like a base, and then kind of a flavor profile I'm thinking, and then I'll just be like, go. Like one day I was like, okay, so like I'm thinking a White Russian, but not a White Russian. Like I want something kind of in that thing. So they gave me something that was sort of like an orange dreamsicle kind of flavor, White Russian kind of thing, but it was more elevated than just a standard White Russian. So to me, like that's kind of the fun of drinking at times is like let me just go all wild with it and go see like what there is. So like usually I'll drink Jack and Cokes or whatever. Like I'm a whiskey Coke guy, but sometimes I might be like, you know what? I feel like a gin and ginger beer, or give me a PBR, or give me this, or whatever. So it's like everyone when I show up, they're just like lately, one of our regulars likes to give me a shot before my midnight when I get to have one, and he'll be like, "Oh, what do you want?" And I'm like, "Man, if you're paying for it, whatever you want." So that lately it's been Jaegers again and Jaeger bombs, and I was
hell yeah.
So like it's like everyone.
I have Jaeger stories.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this dude's all about him again, and I guess so am I. Like, I'm here for the ride again. Everything that's old is new again.
I'm not picky, too. I mean, I don't like rum, but I'll pretty much drink anything, and it's nice when you can just kind of go through the spectrum and just, I feel like trying this today, or like, I'm in the mood for that, and I feel grateful that I'm not picky, because I can always have something to change it up with. Kind of appreciate everything. A lot of mezcal recently.
I'm more of the Anhio. Like I've been doing a lot of Anhio old fashions.
Ooh, nice.
Which is nice.
Good reposados and shit. Yeah, Espolon, I like a lot. They make a good spread of different tequilas.
A good one that's more on the lower end for like, and I realized this one day when I was drinking something nice, and then I pounded about half of the fifth, and I was like, yeah, I can't. At this price point, I can't drink these like this.
Yeah.
But the 1800 Anhio actually is pretty solid for the price point.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's like $35 for a fifth.
I think I've had their silver. I don't think I've tried.
Yeah, the rest of their shit's kind of garbage.
Yeah.
Anhio for an entry level Anhio is pretty solid. But the funny thing is, I'm such a picky eater though. So I find it very interesting that when it comes to drinking, I'm just like, yeah, fuck, bring it on. Food?
That is interesting, actually.
No.
I'll eat and drink anything. I'm like the least pickiest person.
Oh, no, hate vegetables.
My stomach and my body will tell you otherwise, but at first, don't care.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is my old man body that like gets heartburn. So like I think a lot of
indigestion. I don't know. It's like happy 30. Like you can't have hot food anymore because your body hates you. Pizza, like every time I eat pizza, I get so bloated for whatever reason. It sucks. And I love pizza.
Same. No, that's
probably because I still eat like I'm 15.
My wife and I were talking the other day. We both texted each other. She texted me and then I texted her right back. Where she goes, "I just fell walking the dog because I slipped on ice." And I go, "So did I, on my way to get a tattoo." And then she was like, "Oh, it fucking hurts. Getting old sucks." And I was like, "Well, you're only as old as you feel." And mentally, I feel like I'm 22 to 24, somewhere in there.
That's how I feel most of the time.
Yeah. So, but I think maybe that's what keeps you young is if you feel young and you do young things. That's being young and successful.
It's weird getting older and going to bars and seeing people your age, and you're like, those are old people, and you're like, I'm not one of them.
I'll do you one better. I checked an ID of this dude, and I was like, okay, like this guy's got to be like 45, maybe, like good, like almost 5 years older, 7 years older than me. He was 6 years younger than me.
Damn.
And I was like, bro, whatever you're doing ain't it.
Whatever you're doing, stop today.
Yeah, like, I don't know what job.
Go home right now.
Whatever your job is, like I don't know what's stressing you and making you look that old, but that is.
He's working for TSA since he was 19, and now he's 24, but he's just signed up for his AARP card.
There's my favorite though is when everyone goes, "Oh, you have to look at my ID. I'm so old."
Oh my God, shut up! I get that so much.
95% of the people that say that to me, I'm like especially when it's in a group of people, I'll be like, I'll hand back the IDs. I'm like, the oldest one of you is still 5 years younger than me. And they're like,
my response is always, I don't want to do this at all. I'm just supposed to be here.
Yeah,
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Great. So that was my conversation with JT of Erra in Texas in July. I guess Texas in July fans, you probably got a little bit of something to possibly look forward to. Bands playing some shows. Maybe that's going to spark some new music with it. But, I think kind of the interesting thing about talking about that actually was kind of talking about the correlation and how JT taking over for Texas in July allowed him to kind of step into what he's done with Erra and, no pun intended, to kind of bring in a new era of the band with what he does and, the music before. And it is interesting, we live in a world where we have a ton of bands now that have had multiple singers, and it always has been this divisive thing. Like, with Van Halen, it's like, oh, well, you have to like David Lee Roth or you have to like Sammy Hagar. Or in the random occurrence that you are one of the people who like the Gary Cherone era in the one album. Sure. But it's a thing where it's like, I've always maintained this stance, with a lot of these bands that, being as old as I am and remembering, the different eras of like Anthrax and, now more recently with Killswitch and so forth, that it's like, at the end of the day, they're still playing most of the time. They're still playing the old music. Most of the time they've been vetted by somebody, the band and all that kind of stuff. So that it's going to be someone that brings something that feels familiar to the old material while still bringing something new to what they do. And I think for JT to kind of walk into this situation with Erra as he has over the last handful of years, I feel like it's got to be weird to kind of have people be like, well, I like the old thing. And he probably would be like, yeah, me too. That's why I still like those songs. That's why I still like that material. But I feel like there's always this divisiveness between fans where it's like they pit band members, former members against current members. They pit current fans versus old fans and stuff like that. And I feel like it's sad. It's sad as a fan to be like, why can't you just be like, yes, I like this. I like this. Or if you don't like, the new era with JT on it, then fucking don't listen. It's that easy. Like, I don't understand this world we live in where people feel like they have to comment on something that they don't like. It's like, if it's not bringing any value to you and you don't like something, then just fucking ignore it. But we live in a world now where too often we feel the need to share all of our thoughts and opinions on things, whether anyone asked us or not. But more importantly, I just feel like it's more the mentality that I've tried to get away from, which is not trying to focus on negative things. I was just reminded, actually talking to Dan from Discography Discussion the other day, about how, I made the comment to him about, it's funny, someone was like, oh, you didn't like this band, so, and it's clear you didn't give it a fair shake and da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, God forbid I don't like something. And I vocalize that I don't like something. And he goes, instead of like dragging it out and kind of shitting on it for an extended period of time, I was just like, hey, isn't my thing. I mean, they're fine at what they do, but it's not for me, so whatever. And to me, like, that's the approach I feel like more people should take is kind of that, like, let's just stop with the negativity. Because it only will negatively affect your own life. And people don't like hanging out with negative people. I see it all the time. Actually, working at the bar, I hear it. Where like I will hear people having a conversation like, oh, so-and-so just asked what I was doing. Oh, don't let them know we're here. I don't want to hang out with them. There's always drama. There's always negativity. And to me, like that's huge. It feels like people are finally kind of coming to this place where we realize we don't want negativity. We don't want divisiveness. We don't want these things. The world's full of it. And the time that we spend with people, we want there to be a positive interaction and positivity in general. So food for thought. I guess it's kind of a random tangent to end on, but yeah, if it doesn't add value and it doesn't bring happiness to you, you don't have to wallow in it. So don't. Anyway, if you would like to keep up with JT, it's simple enough. You can find him on Instagram and Twitter at JT Cavey, Kavey. If you would like to keep up with Erra, you can find them at Erra.music on Facebook, Erra Band on Instagram, and Erra_band on Twitter, or you can simply go to erraband.com. Lots of great stuff coming up. They got the re-release of their latest album with the covers, the deluxe version. I'm sure by this point you have heard Stockholm Syndrome, their Muse cover. Was really interesting to see a lot of people coming out and showing their support for that song. Muse is one of those bands I feel like a lot of rock and metal people love because they kind of dabble in some of those things, and they seem like they low-key really do enjoy getting down with some more aggressive music. I've seen plenty of videos of them doing Deftones covers and some other stuff, so maybe maybe one day we'll get a really aggressive Muse record. I think that would be fun. And in wrapping up, if you would like to keep up with the podcast, you can find us simple enough at Brewspeak Pod everywhere on all your socials. Leave a rating, review, subscribe, whatever you can do on whatever platform you are on. Please do such. We started a TikTok. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with that. Someone said I should do it. Sure. So that's a thing. And if you'd like to support us monetarily, you can go to patreon.com/BrewspeakPod. You'll get access to all the episodes early, as well as some extra content over there. And sponsors as well. I want to thank them for supporting the show. Rockabilia.com. Use our code Brutally at checkout. Save 10% off your order. On Point Pomade. Use BSP15 at checkout and take 15% off your total purchase order. And the Bean Bastard. There is something brewing, no pun intended. No, that was a pun intended. Tried to pull a fast one on you. But there is something brewing between Bean Bastard and myself. Hopefully I can maybe talk about it when more stuff is revealed. But we're working on some stuff. And for the Brutally Speaking podcast, I am John. And I'll see you all next week where I have Matt Stocks of Stoke the Fire podcast, Life in the Stocks, as well as an author and a DJ and a host and a plethora of other things. This was a really great conversation. Can't wait for you all to hear it, and I'll see you all next week.